in so much pain. So I reached out for a hug and she gave in and snuggled up. I told her everything will be better someday. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I might not know much about you or what you're going through, but I know that someday it will get better.
You had something to hide. Should have hidden it, shouldn't you? Now you're not satisfied with what you're being put through. It's just time to pay the price for not listening to advice and deciding in your youth on the policy of truth. Never again is what you swore the time before. Never again is what you swore the time before.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like he's Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here to break down all the latest shit talking and shenanigan ready to take place, and that has taken place since we saw you fine folks last week. We do not have a fresh Pete at the moment. I believe he is currently preoccupied. I think we might catch him a little bit later, but we do have his arch nemesis, as it were, the purple strap coveter himself, the new guy, the young gunner, the up and comer, RJ MMA official. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, man. Good to be here this week. I've had a pretty good fucking week so far. Kind of a couple exciting fights on this card and a lot of interesting news. A lot of interesting news this last week.
Absolutely. We definitely have a lot of interesting things to talk about this evening for sure. That's a very good way to phrase that. Oh, glad we can have you, brother. And as is the case more often than not across the octagon, from myself, my Wednesday night compatriot, my combat shit talking homeboy, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, brother?
It's Thursday. We got a card to talk about, and I say a card because, to be quite honest, it's not one of the most interesting cards for me personally. Don't get me wrong. For some others, there are some interesting things on here, but at least it's something to talk about. I'm more excited about the news that's come out this week than the actual card itself, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think as far as excitement goes, I think the news section definitely tips its hand this week over the card itself. But we've definitely got quite a bit that we can go over here. So before we get too deep into it, as has been told to me by folks much smarter than myself, if you enjoy the punchy, kiki goodness that we provide here at the I'm No Joe podcast, you can follow us on all social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram. If you are watching us live Thursday nights on YouTube, you can also catch us distraction-free on anchor.fm/I'm No Joe, and then get us through your podcast platform consumption of choice in the all audio version. If you are hearing us, then you obviously know we are over on Anchor, but you may not realize we do this live pretty much every Thursday over at youtube.com/I'm No Joe. And if you know all of that and you're still here, we love the fuck out of you and you love the fuck out of us. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe helps us do what we do around here, gives you access to behind the scenes shit, the unaired footage and the unairable footage. But follow us on the socials. We are trying to grow this goddamn thing, so follow us everywhere. You will catch us before we go live. You will catch little tidbits. And because I know that RJ once again is going to forget to remind me,
Discord.
we also have
I was lining something up, man.
I'm sure it's my I believe you face.
I was gonna do it on our outro.
Scrolling along the bottom banner of the screen throughout the show, you will see the address to our new Discord server, where I post some of the things that are a little too spicy or just flat out too fucking weird to talk about on the show. I make sure to let you know when we go live and where we're live. All of that over on the Discord. It's real fun. Everybody can join, so we'll see you over there. We are also building towards a fan Q&A question. There's a place over there for you guys to submit all of your questions. We are getting the Discord up and running. It's going to be a damn fun thing, I believe. But all that nonsense being said and out of the way, we have got one hell of a news week for you fine folks. We do not have, obviously, a recap since we had no card last week to go over, but we're going to dive right into some of the news here. Now, I know there are some extremely spicy bits here. I tried to order our news so far as to what is coming up the most immediately as to what we have to look forward to in like a chronological order. So the first thing that jumps into my list of news here is the fact that we found out basically next week, June 11th, Invicta decided that, you know what, fuck it. We have got too much of a badass here at Atomweight. So we're going to hold an 8-woman tournament one night, 8 women, winner takes all, gets the next shot at the fucking title. Next weekend is going to have some badass ladies fights outside of the UFC. So if you guys are looking for a new event or maybe something that you're just not familiar with, I'm telling you right now, holy shit, next weekend is going to be crazy in Invicta. That being said, 2 weeks from now, June 18th, we have the official inaugural event of the Game Bred FC Fighting Championship. Jorge Masvidal's bare knuckle MMA organization, essentially, are having their inaugural event. They have got a star-studded commentary team and lineup, and the card itself is being headlined by a bare knuckle MMA fight between none other than Jason Knight himself and Charles Felony Bennett. If you guys are fans of BKFC or you have followed along the show, will be aware that Jason Knight is basically, in my opinion, like in the top 3 all-time bare knuckle dudes we have got right now. Charles Felony Bennett, on the other hand, much lower down on that ranking system in terms of BKFC. On the 0-2 has had his ass handed to him now side of things. But in MMA bare knuckle, that may change. Who really knows? It is going to be at featherweight, so we know they're both going to be 45. Could get very interesting. I got a dog that needs to go crazy. Can you guys take some news for just a moment, please?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'd like to follow up on that. I was say, yes, Bennett, not the most, not the greatest BKFC bare knuckle boxer. However, that dude is allergic to boring fights. Every fight he's been in, albeit him getting his ass kicked, they're not fucking boring. So seeing that, and then if you guys don't know who's on the other side of the ring from him, you need to go back and watch him and Artem Lobov go at it. Not once, but fucking twice. Those boys went to war, and you'll understand why he's just exciting to watch as well, because he'll take a licking and keep on ticking too. And to see it go into a bare knuckle MMA side of things, that's a whole new world, because we haven't seen that in quite some time. The last time we seen a bare knuckle MMA fight was at the UFC's inception, way back when they didn't have to wear gloves. There was no rules at that point. However, being as this is still going to have a set of current MMA rules with it, it's not going to be quite as gnarly. However, that idea of them being able to grapple with no gloves on, that's going to make for some really slick submission attempts. I think I'm thinking we're going to get quite a few slick attempts on things that you wouldn't normally see because gloves make them cumbersome. Like, even watching fighters try to get rear naked sometimes is a pain in the ass, because the gloves do cause a lot of issue with trying to sneak in a rear naked or other types of chokes and things of that nature. So I think we're in for a treat getting to watch that kind of show unfold here. And to be quite honest, I really hope that takes off. I really do. And granted, with having Jorge's name on it right now, that'll definitely get it some traction in the right direction. I'm just hoping the fight lives up to its possibility, so that way that side of the sport continues to grow, because that's definitely another one well worth your watch. If you're an MMA fan or a BKFC fan, that's a win-win for you to watch that one. And in other news, there was also this week the return of The Ultimate Fighter. Which, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch, I'll advise you to go watch it. I'll say it starts just like every other Ultimate Fighter has to this point, where it's basically pick teams. First guy to pick, the other team gets to choose first fight, and so on. So it's rolling out the same way it did. So I don't know if we're going to see any major changes to their format. I'm hoping so, because there were some things I disliked about the previous set of not the previous way that the Ultimate Fighter rolled out. So it could be something interesting, but on the other side, I'm hoping it's not that same regurgitated what's the best way to put for it? Less focus on all the bullshit in the house instead of the actual fighters themselves. Because I know they definitely made it to sell for primetime TV, especially back when it was on something like Spike, where it was, well, we need to get as much drama into this show as possible. To be honest, I hope they avoid the drama for this show, but we'll see in the coming episodes on how that plays out. But it's definitely going to be interesting. There are some interesting picks of fighters and interesting. The final fight of that first episode was actually pretty solid. It was definitely apparent that those guys are not well trained at this point, but it was still an interesting fight and played out nicely, and it was nice to see some background on those guys that are in there again. Definitely much better than the Contender Series any day, even if it's the same style of regurgitated content that they had for the other. We're on season 26 of The Ultimate Fighter at this point, right? Or something like that. Even if it's the same regurgitated content styles they did with the previous ones, I'm all right with that because it's still better than the Contender Series. And, well, to be quite honest, the Contender Series can go and die in a hole somewhere because it's fucking terrible. And,
So the only thing that I want to say about the whole Bennett situation is I like the fact that he went to like BKFC. The only problem with him is, man, it's fucking crazy. Like he still fucking swings like he wears gloves. Like that's how he lost one of his fights, because he pretty much shattered a couple of bones in his hands.
man, that's a case of you can't fake stupid.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say that, yeah, it's awesome that he wants to swing for the fences.
But you can't do that.
You can't do that. I think that's where he'll have his out here, though, being as it's an MMA fight. If he breaks a hand, he can always take it to the ground.
Yeah. Like with them doing bare knuckle MMA, man, you're gonna be able to see a lot of people that are high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners really like get to show their shit, kind of like in Submission Underground, because you ain't gotta fucking work less than that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to bring in new aspects to it, which is especially when it comes to the submission attempts themselves, because there's so many things that open up without gloves on. And I'm not saying you can't do a lot of those things with gloves, but they're a lot easier to do without.
They're just harder between opening your fingers enough to get a secure grip on your arm for a rear naked, and to be able to grip on to like just their head, because it's so fucking hard to get a solid fucking grip with proper MMA striking gloves, let alone grappling gloves. All that shit's hard.
I think we're going to end up seeing a lot more like cranks and things like that now, because you're going to be able to get a good tight grip on somebody. Like you're going to see good tight neck cranks and stuff that you can't get with the gloves, or like even something as easy as a can opener. Yeah. So for those of you who are not aware of a can opener, or well, I guess it depends on which circle you're in. The can opener that I'm speaking of is you're inside of someone's guard, you reach behind their head, you grab both of your fingers and interlace them nice and tight like this, pull on their neck, stuff your elbows into both of their collarbones, and then just pry their neck forward, because that forces them to either one of two things: either cry like a bitch because it's going to hurt your neck, or two, it's going to cause them to release the legs from around you from inside that guard. So you're going to see some other ways to pass guard here. Now, the catch to that is you're leaving yourself open to an arm bar doing something like that, because then they can trap an arm. But it's going to definitely show some other aspects of the jiu-jitsu and submission game that you don't normally get to see, which, to be quite honest, that's exciting, because that brings people have to think about more things that way while they're fighting. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still going to see some ground and pound, because God knows that's going to happen. But telling you that I'm more excited about the submission aspect of it because look, to be quite honest, what he's doing right now over there is he's bringing the MMA thing full circle right now. We went from early UFC 1, no gloves, wear whatever the fuck you want in, no rules, that type of stuff. Then as it progressed, we got a good set of unified rules, which makes sense, more safety for the fighters and things like that. Then all of a sudden in the last couple of years, we get BKFC. So then we get bare knuckle boxing. We haven't seen that in years. And now we're getting bare knuckle MMA, which is bringing it full circle all the way back around to UFC 1. However, they're still going to be using the unified set of MMA rules. The only difference is nothing here. Nothing to it, which that just opens up so many things. Yes, that's right. We did this for you. There you go. But yeah, that's fucking just amazing. Then I think then was the other one I wanted to bring up outside of that there was a couple of craziness. You know, we've got to talk about it because I don't think he's going to cover it, and this is fucking weird. What's your thoughts on that Hezbollah fight?
What happened?
What's your thought on the Hezbollah fight? The two little dwarfs, the one from fucking I want to say Dagestan, and the other one is from from not Turkey, Uzbekistan or something like that. Have you seen that on social media?
No.
Oh my good God. You need to go and watch that if you do not, because I think that's coming up this weekend as well. But it's two basically dwarves, and they've been hyping the shit out of it. Like the dude who is, I don't know how this got so much traction in the MMA community, but there's fighters that are reposting it on their fucking Instagram pages and other socials. I mean, even was it Jake Paul during one of his interviews said he wants to fight like Hezbollah, which is fucking great. Kid shows no fear. It's something that I just thought needs to be talked about because it's part of the weirder side of MMA. But if you don't know this, go check it out. There's YouTube videos out there with their press conference. Now you're gonna have to watch it with the subtitles, but that shit is fucking hilarious. There's like a 30 or 45-minute interview press conference style thing that they did for these two. And they get heated in there. It looked like it was like a mini Conor McGregor in there. It's fucking fantastic. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go look that shit up and keep an eye out for it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but look, you allow everybody to fight when they want to fight. You just find them the right opponent, and those two guys match up very nicely. I think the one is 19, and I think the other one is, let's see, it's mid to late 20s. So that'll be excellent. And apparently they train, because I even seen a couple of videos of this little dude training, and I'm not gonna lie, my head when I first saw his first training video, my mind went, that's adorable. He's using a heavy bag that's about twice the size of my water bottle to do ground and pound on. And so my mind went, that's fucking adorable. But you know, it's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. But definitely well worth the checkout. There's quite a few things that you'll want to see when it comes to that there. What's it? Heck, you could probably do just a straight Google search at this point to find that Hezbollah there, and it'll all pop up there. Then,
AKA the mini Khabib.
Yeah. It's like mini Khabib versus mini Conor. It's fucking great.
That's fucking interesting. I didn't hear anything about this. That's kind of interesting.
Just fall down the rabbit hole. That's all I'm telling you. Just fall down the rabbit hole, click from one thing to the next. and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's fucking great. No, I don't know what else he planned on covering, so I will just go down the list of a couple things. I mean, we got this weekend coming up is Logan Paul and Mayweather. To be quite honest, this is a waste of time and money for everyone. It's not a legitimate fight. It doesn't go against anybody's records. There's not going to be a winner announced. It's just for lack of better terms, it's a money grab. Which, hey, more power to the both of you. Get your fucking money, but it's stupid. And then, of course, we've got going along with the Paul side of the house. We have Jake Paul, who is now going to be fighting fucking Tyron Woodley in a boxing match, because God knows he's not going to do MMA, because he will get fucking murdered in an MMA arena. But it's just another one of those money grabs of how many MMA fighters are they going to let him fight before they let him fight a legitimate boxer? Like somebody who's legitimately a boxer.
It won't.
I mean, Tyron Woodley. He's got a fucking knockout right. But he is an MMA fighter heavy in wrestling. Albeit his last fucking 6 fights, all you've seen him do is look for counter punches, which probably will work out to his advantage in the boxing area, because the dude can counter punch. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the knockouts from him. So, but yeah. So that's another one. Keep your eyes out for. There's some bullshit there and more bullshit. Money grabbing at its finest, which I'm not mad at. Make your money, guys. Make your money.
The only thing that I'm not as mad at the Logan Paul thing because he takes himself seriously with being an athlete, with trying to be a boxer and everything like that. He trains super fucking serious. He does shit right. He got with Floyd and was like, hey, someday I want to fight you. And he stuck by his word. He hasn't been a loudmouth about it like his brother. He's gone the entire route super intelligently. And I've been super respectful of the entire way and the entire time that he's been wanting to do it. I have a lot of respect for that aspect of being a social media influencer, wanting to test yourself against undeniably the best of the best of boxers. Point blank, period. One of the best in history in the boxing world. You want to test yourself. That's a great way to fucking do it. But he's not being an asshole about it. He's not talking shit. That's everybody has a huge problem with it. I don't I understand it's a money grab and everything, but I have a lot of respect for him being a man of his word, saying that he wants to fight Mayweather 5 years ago, whenever he first wanted to get into boxing. I have a lot of respect for that.
Well, I can have respect that saying you want to do it, but knowing it's all in the money, fucking
yeah.
And the worst part of it for me is there can't be a winner and there can't be a loser. There needs to be a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, whether it's an exhibition fight or not, there should be a winner and a loser regardless of the situation. Regardless if one has 80 pounds on the other, you're both agreeing to it. You're both signing on the dotted line.
Yeah, so I get it. Mayweather is getting up there in age because he's what, damn near 50 now.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not getting any younger. I can understand not wanting to risk your perfect record, but if that's the case, stay the fuck out the game. And I get it. These guys are, to be quite honest, they're using him as a way to make money.
Yep.
Because they know the blueprint that that'll do it. So that's definitely one way to get it done. I mean, it just, for me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money to even talk about those fucking ones, because they're just not good fights. Like, they're literally for one thing and then one thing only. It's this. Fucking line the pocket with the green. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's other things out there that are money. Granted, all right, let's look at it this way. Right now, there are really only two, I would say two real money fights in the UFC right now. If you look across the board for UFC fighters, Conor McGregor still has money fights. And I think Israel Adesanya is getting to that point where he's getting money fights now too. Even though he did get beat by Blowich. But he still has enough draw that, yeah, people are going to tune in for that. So I mean, there is that. But if a lot of these fighters in the UFC really want to make the money that they're worth, they have to do things outside of the UFC. They have to go find a boxing match with some boxer who makes it worthwhile. But UFC still digging people on pay because they still have this stupid uniform thing. Look, but you know, I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole different fucking ball of wax. There's a couple other things that we did see. I don't know if we mentioned them last week or not in the last week. Thank God somebody got to Diego Sanchez because he dropped his fucking management partnership with that fucking crazy cocksucker, and hopefully he's back on the straight and narrow. I think we did talk about this last week, but I don't remember because that still leaves open the possibility of a retirement fight for both him and Cowboy Cerrone, which would have been a fucking banger to go out on. You figure both of those guys going all the way back to their fucking surprise, the days on the Ultimate Fighter. So there's some interesting shit going on there. I'm hoping that he gets his shit together and we get to see that soon. And then, but that's not necessarily going to be necessarily going to happen. I mean, as they did release him, but that's because, well, he was in the middle of some dumb shit with a dumb motherfucker. Oh, that's something else. You know, we haven't talked about. I know we talk a lot of weird kicky punchy fights and things like this. Here's a big fucking weird one that I don't think we've mentioned yet. The Mountain, Hafthor Bjornsson, and Eddie Hall, their boxing match coming up. That's in what? I want to say like a month.
Yeah.
And we haven't touched on that hardly at all. Look, both of these men, I respect them greatly. They are just monsters in the sport of fucking powerlifting and World's Strongest Man. They're both fucking animals. I've seen Hafthor's fucking boxing matches that he's had already and the sparring that Eddie Hall has. This is going to be a fucking slugfest of guys that don't know what they're fucking doing. Like, it's going to look fucking terrible. And to be quite honest, I think Eddie Hall is going to beat the brakes off of Hafthor because Hafthor moves like fucking a mountain. Slow and fucking just cumbersome. And don't get me wrong, I'm not calling fucking Eddie Hall twinkle toes by any means.
He's better movement.
He's got a little bit more movement, but not a whole fucking lot. Let me tell you what, it's a gnarly situation to see there. So I mean, we're getting into some weird waters there, but still, I think that'll be way more exciting than Paul and Mayweather. Guaranteed.
So, whenever you bring you bring that up, you have to bring up why this became a fucking thing.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to go into the backstory with it, but I mean,
You have to.
if you really want to, all about a little beef from some fucking World's Strongest Man and a goddamn world record. Really?
Oh no!
And
It wasn't
goes
even
all the way
that.
back to that, and then some. There's a lot to it.
It went back to Eddie Hall's very first World's Strongest Man win. he got his very first win by 5 points because Hathor Bjornsson didn't do a clean snatch properly. But in the Mountain's defense, his size and his body won't let him, like physically won't let him do a clean snatch press the way you're supposed to. Bring your arms all the way into 45 degrees because his lats and his traps are just too fucking big, and they docked him 1.5 times for incomplete clean snatch presses, overhead presses. Eddie Hall won because of that event by 5 points. If he got all 5 clean, perfect presses, Hathor Bjornsson would have won that year's World's Strongest Man, but he got fucked over because his body wouldn't let him do it. And after that, a world of bad blood went between Eddie Hall and Hathor Bjornsson.
And it wasn't just that. There's a lot of other shit between those two, which,
that's what,
to be quite honest, when I'm looking at it, a lot of it's petty. Now, I can understand the being upset about getting dock points if your body physically can't do that movement. However, you're in a specific type of competition. You should be training to be able to do that exact movement. You can't blame anybody other than yourself, whether your body likes it or not. Maybe you shouldn't have done that event and skipped it, whatever the case may be. But still, the fight itself is more interesting to me because it's just two gigantic fuck off dickheads with very little training, which, to be quite honest, and they have a genuine dislike for each other, which is even better. So I mean, I went and, because I fell down this rabbit hole probably like 2 or 3 months ago, I went and watched a lot of Eddie Hall's YouTube videos and then a lot of Hathor's stuff. And there's genuine hatred right now at this level. Like both of them, no. They're like, are we friends after this? Fuck you. Yeah. It's gonna be basically a fuck you. No, we're not gonna be friends after this. It doesn't matter how it plays out. So that's probably the most exciting thing of it. The most unexciting thing is it's going to be an ugly train wreck to watch because both of those dudes move like they have cement fucking feet. But I mean, when you're that heavy and your job is not speed, but for power, it'll be fun. Somebody might get knocked out. And probably it's going to be Hathor because Hathor moves a lot fucking worse than Eddie Hall does. Unless he's improved in the last fucking 4 or 5 months.
No, he hasn't. He put out a video with Gunnar Nelson a week ago, I think, basically trying to replicate the video that he shot with Conor McGregor, like, what was it, 4 years ago, right before Game of Thrones got really shitty and Conor started losing. When they were both in their peak. Gunnar Nelson and Hathor basically tried to recreate that video almost move for move because Gunnar. But Gunny is not nearly as agile as Conor is. Ironically enough, Hathor looked about the same as he did against Conor against Gunnar, so that kind of tells you a little bit about where that's going to go. But no,
the fucked up thing about that is anytime you put a little guy like Gunnar Nelson next to Hathor, they're going to look lightning fast. That's just how that works, and he's going to look super slow. Put him up next to somebody who's close to his size. Even the guys that he's boxed already aren't his fucking size. They're like half his size and still in that heavyweight division. Which
I saw a picture after I found the Gunnar video. I fell a little bit down the rabbit hole of the Gunnar fucking, or not the Gunnar, but the Hathor versus Eddie shit again. I tried to push it out of my mind, but I fell down a little bit again. And I found a picture of The Rock, The Undertaker, and Hathor at like backstage somewhere, and it's like a fucking growth chart for gigantism. Like the Undertaker is like 6'2", The Rock is like 6'6.5", 6'7", and then Hathor is like 7'3". So you know the Undertaker is stupid big, and you see the Undertaker looking up to Hathor like he's a little kid trying to get a baseball sign. Like, holy shit, he literally is a fucking mountain. Like, that dude is a monster.
Yeah, he is a fucking giant, man. He's a giant among men.
Yeah, he
And he
really
looks
fucking
like
is.
And although I will say, from watching the earlier videos of them deciding to do this to where they're at now, both of them, credit where credit is due, have improved greatly. Both of them have. Now, are
They
they?
have both taken it semi-seriously.
Have they gotten to semi-pro status as far as their they look? Good God, fucking no. However, I am impressed with how much they've improved since this whole fucking shindig has come to light. And to be quite honest, I'm more excited about that than fucking Paul and Mayweather any day.
I agree. And since I was listening while I was fucking biting Windows, dirty cunt ass, to step backwards to what I missed here, in terms of the Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul coming up this Sunday, this is 100% a promotion. There's no fight about this. Logan Paul might be taking this seriously, but Floyd Mayweather is not, and you can tell 100% by the statement that was released yesterday by Malky in his interview, in that the main reason Floyd took the fight with Logan Paul was to use it to do his half of the promotion start for the rematch with Conor McGregor. Since Conor McGregor has already mentioned in the past couple of weeks, month-ish time, that after the Poirier trilogy, he sees no reason why he shouldn't go ahead and have the Diaz trilogy and then the run back with Floyd Mayweather. He wants to cancel off all his loose ends that he's got hanging out there. And when Conor said that about Floyd, you saw those dollar signs flash in his eyes like Mr. Krabs all of a sudden, like, there's still money there. I like money. Like, immediately, like, Floyd snapped into fucking, oh, yes, we can mode. And Malky came out and did his promotion yesterday. So I don't think there's a chance that Logan Paul is going to, like, well, I should take that back. I think Logan Paul is going to take this very seriously. He legitimately, to his credit, wants to be a bona fide athlete. He's not playing the stupid fucking games that his brother's doing. He's trying to be legitimate here, and I can respect that to a degree. It's still a money grab, but I can respect it way more. The problem for him is that he's either too young and dumb or just too naive in his single focusedness to realize what Floyd's doing with him, or he's just too busy looking past it. But Floyd is going to use this as a chance to get himself tuned up to dance and to show off and to stunt on Logan until he gets tired of doing it, and then he's just going to fucking wreck his world. And then immediately after go, okay, Conor, this is your chance to get the one last out, and then I'm done, which we all know isn't really the case, but that's that promotional gotcha. Like, because now everybody's fucking in, and now Conor has to win against Poirier, or he looks like shit and might not get that Floyd rematch again.
Yeah, he see, and that's that one thing that's been. I think that's what's fucked Conor a lot lately is he's been working on future planning rather than planning right there what's in front of him. You can think about the virtue stuff, but keep that shit to your fucking self. Don't put it on the media.
Keep that shit in the back burner in your fucking pocket, man.
Yeah, you need to have an ace in the hole, and if you're throwing all your cards on the fucking table right away, a lot of that shit's gonna get folded because if you fuck up once along the way, nix those plans. And don't get me wrong, I think he still has the toolbox to do a lot of those things.
Absolutely, if he gets his shit together.
Yeah, but that's a long haul for him lately. So I mean, we'll see though. I mean,
well, and the ironic bit is that Conor McGregor actually ties directly back into what I'm going to say about the other asshole Paul brother. The fucking rolling dumpster fire that was announced for August 28th, that will be Jake Paul, taking on Tyron Woodley in a boxing match, which they have already noted has an automatic rematch clause regardless. So for one, that's a publicity stunt for the younger brother to try and lure Conor into his fight. But then you had the actual face-off this afternoon, which I'm a little bit ashamed to say I actually had to watch, but only for the dumpster fireism that it turned out to be, just like I hoped it would. In Jake Paul getting up, literally right up in fucking Tyron Woodley's face and telling him, if you're so fucking confident that you're not going to end up just like your boy did, face down in one round, then bet me double or nothing. If you make it out of the first round, I double your paycheck, which you have already said is the highest single payday you've ever had. If you lose, you donate your entire purse to my charity. Tyron Woodley's response, I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. He started singing to him like the fucking clown that Tyron Woodley has become. So that, if anything else, was one of the clearest indications that Tyron is absolutely in this just for the payday and is not willing to fucking risk it. But at the same time, it shows you the length of the circus tent that Jake is willing to fucking put up to try and lure Conor in, because he knows, just like Floyd does, that Conor is still the biggest fucking payday in boxing, despite him being an MMA fighter right now. So it is an absolute shit show on wheels on both sides, but ironically enough, both fights are trying to lure Conor towards the winner. The big difference, I think, between these two dumpster fires is that they're talking about Woodley versus Jake Paul being an actual sanctioned professional boxing event, whereas we know for a fact now, confirmed yesterday through a reporting, that this Sunday's Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul is purely an exhibition match, to such an extent that the judges there are not official. They are literally on loan, as is the referee, and it is made bluntly clear in both the promotional propaganda, I guess would be the word, and the actual contracts for both fighters, that there is no winner, and this bout is not in any way sanctioned by the Florida Athletic Commission. This is just a fucking cash grab. So both of these are ironically trying to lure Conor in with no real on the line threat.
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's getting deep, boys and girls. Make sure you got your booties handy. Oh, fucking ridiculousness indeed. But a couple other interesting tidbits of news I want to run through real quick. We did see former UFC light heavyweight Klidson Abreu, who had fucking great prospect and just never could put it together in the UFC, and they weren't willing to wait, so they let him go, has officially signed on with the PFL at heavyweight. He has fought his entire career both in the UFC and Brave Fighting Championship at light heavyweight. And now moving over to PFL, has for the first time ever taken the contract at heavyweight, not light. He's going up full big boy here. So the irony of that is that they announced his signing at heavyweight right after they announced, for no reason given, I say with super rabbit ears, that Fabricio Verdun has now officially pulled out of his second fight in the PFL season for 2021. In a subsequent interview after the fact, we found out through Fabricio's manager that he had to pull out of the fight because he is still experiencing lingering effects from his TKO knockout that he had a month ago that they actually had overturned in that ridiculous fight. But Fabricio got his shit rocked real fucking hard in that fight, and literally they had him back on the roster 4 fucking weeks later, and he said flat out he's still having problems from that. He can't compete right now. They have not been able to confirm whether he is completely out of the PFL 2021 season or if he is just giving up this match and willing to sacrifice the points because he got rocked and he just can't get back in that quick because he's 43. But it's going to be real interesting to see what happens going forward with Fabricio and Klidson, because Klidson was a pretty goddamn good light heavyweight. If he's just letting go of what he was cutting to make to 205, and he's going to walk in there at like 225, 230ish. He's not going full big boy. That could be real fucking interesting to see over there as well. Just like seeing if Fabricio has really just gotten rocked one too many fucking times and he's done, or if 4 weeks just isn't enough time to clear the concussion he got from getting his fucking dome bounced off the canvas 3.5 weeks ago. Couple of fight announcements we got this week that are very interesting to look forward to here. The first one, in case you guys did miss it last week, we did mention it briefly, but I do want to mention it again because I'm telling you right fucking now, it's going to be one of the most entertaining things you may ever see in your goddamn life. June 19th at fightcircus.com, Fight Circus 3 Fisting for Dollars has officially been rebooked and cleared by the Thailand COVID coordinated effort group that has now given them full sanction to put the event on as was originally scheduled. We will see an actual phone booth Muay Thai combat match taking place in an actual fucking phone booth. We have a Siamese boxing match where they literally tie one man to another man and make him fight another man tied to another man. We have got the Wheel of Fighting where you can only use the designated strike on a Wheel of Fortune style spinner that picks how you actually get to fight your opponent. There are secret matches that they won't even tell you about. They just bring out in the middle of the show. You have no idea who, you have no idea how. It's fucking insanity. They don't call it Fight Circus for no reason. But what they do say themselves, and I will tell you as well, if you watch Fight Circus 3 Fisting for Dollars, do not do so on your business computer. Do so on a private computer with very good antivirus and a very strong pop-up blocker. That being said, we have gotten officially another rebooking here. This one not quite as exciting, but still very interesting to see how it's going to play out here. June 26th, we have got the run back of the last minute pull from 2 weeks ago's card. Yancy Medeiros getting back in there versus Damir Hadzovic. I kind of feel like this is Yancy Medeiros' shit or get off the pot fight. And I feel like that's kind of why they rebooked it. They're not going to give him another big name. He's swung and missed a couple of real big times. And it feels like as much as they love you, this is your either do something or catch your fucking walking papers fight here. Because, I mean, Hadzovic isn't the canniest soup can on the roster, but damn if he's not fucking close. So I feel like this is really Yancey's last fucking chance to do something here.
That's that shitter get off the pot moment.
Yes, sir. We did get another very interesting announcement here, almost uncharacteristically of what we've been getting from them for the past couple of weeks here. We got an announcement from BKFC for BKFC 19 taking place July 23rd. Ironically enough, it's not another Braun Panties match like they've been fucking queuing up with the Pearl Gonzalez bullshit with the Ostovich versus PVZ. This one's another one of the rare actual bona fide girls who are going to kick some fucking ass type of BKFC match. In Britain Hart getting back in the goddamn ring, taking on Jenny Savage. So we've got Team Beltran back in the fucking building. Britain Hart is trying to get her way at that fucking lady's belt. And if she puts on half the fucking show against Jenny Savage that she did against Paige Van Zandt, it's going to be hard to deny her pretty goddamn quick. And she's been working with Joey Beltran quite a bit, who we know has motherfucking hands. He's not the heavyweight champ for no fucking reason. So I'm very happy to see Britain Hart working with Joey Beltran, getting back in there and getting back to kicking ass. I'm very, very excited to see that match go down. Last minute announcement literally just went out right before the show went down today. Last minute addition to UFC 264 taking place July 10th, the Conor McGregor versus Poirier trilogy card. Carlos, the natural born killer Condit, stepping back into the octagon to take on Max Griffin. That's going to be very interesting considering one of the last times we saw Max Griffin in there, he essentially retired Matt Brown. So now he's stepping in to take on another guy of the same era, of the same caliber in Carlos Condit. Max Griffin might be doing over there what John Jones originally did at light heavyweight to the older guys, man. He's kind of coming in and taking out the bigger fucking names that are a little bit up there in age. I think Condit better watch his fucking ass. He definitely looked good in Submission Underground against Ellenberger a couple weeks ago, but that was Submission Underground. That is not UFC, and Jake Ellenberger is not Max Griffin either. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that one shakes loose.
Can we say this is exactly what happens when you give an old guy a fucking plate that you know he can finish, and then we're going to try to feed him seconds and thirds, and he's not going to do well? This they need to set a rule on retirements. That's all I'm saying. There needs to be some sort of like, and I know they can't write it and say, okay, you have to retire by this age because each person is going to be different. But God, I'll be goddamned if after so many fights you look at somebody and go, you've had enough.
There's a point where you can tell, especially in today's day and age. No, it's gonna be interesting to see how that one plays out. Two more little pieces of news here before we get into some breakdowns for you guys. The first one, we found out, I believe it was yesterday, we found out that on June 19th at the one and only Bad Motherfucker Ranch out there in Edgewood, New Mexico, BKFC is holding their official next set of Southwestern tryouts, with the one and only Leonard Garcia himself going out to the ranch with Cowboy to help try out the next potential upcoming group of BKFC boys and girls. That's pretty fucking awesome, in my opinion.
And like I said earlier, that was in our private chat. I have a feeling we know where Cowboy's going after it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree.
I ain't mad about it.
No, not in the least bit. Do you, brother? I'm absolutely okay with it. The fact that they knew enough to hold fucking BKFC tryouts out at the ranch, that ain't a coincidence. Good on them. Good the fuck on. But moving from there to the last thing I want to talk about here real quick, not so much a good on him, but we should have seen this coming kind of news. We got confirmation on Wednesday that none other than the Huntington Beach bad boy himself has officially retired as the Huntington Beach mayor pro tem. Under much duress, it turns out that during the pandemic in the lockdowns in California, while drawing a salary from the city council and doing things actively on behalf of the city council, Tito Ortiz filed for unemployment benefits and received them. So Tito apparently has some much larger issues to deal with coming up here than dealing with the mayor pro tem of Huntington Beach, and has officially had to step down and resign. There is, from what I was looking at some of the discussions going on this afternoon, a very legitimate possibility we might be seeing Tito Ortiz in handcuffs, possibly doing some federal jail time because of this, because he did it all right out in the open, because he's a moron.
Because, a government pay and stipend isn't enough.
Right? And you can't tell me he doesn't still have fucking sponsors for all his fucking social media and shit, too.
I'm guessing not much longer after that.
Well, yeah, Correct. Or I was going to say, or he did.
You know what bugs me the most? Look, I get it. He did not make a lot of money in his career as a fighter for one reason. He was during the earlier years of fighting. And to be quite honest, the paychecks then sucked.
Yeah, he was in
I
the
mean, they
real.
still suck today. But they were really shitty then. Even as a pro, being at the peak of his career and having a great following of fans and having one of the greatest fucking rivalries of all time between him and Chuck Liddell. I mean,
made history. Yeah.
but they didn't make a lot of money, so I don't expect him to be living off of that. But at the same time, you find yourself in another position that you're in and you're dumb. The only way I can think, because I can't even call it a lapse of judgment, because it's not like, oops, I forgot I was collecting this when I took my job as the mayor and forgot to call it off. That's fine. Then you just owe that little bit back if you had it beforehand. But no, you applied for it and got it while in office. You are a special kind of stupid. And don't get me wrong, there was it in California, I think? There's a spot in California, I forget which city it was, that were giving out checks to people, whether they had jobs or not, to see how it worked on lowering or increasing their unemployment.
It was one of the suburbs outside of Oakland. They basically did a test similar to
Okay.
universal income. They gave the families $1,000 a month, tax
Yeah,
free.
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I get it. If you were that guy that got chosen for that shit, good. But you weren't. You knowingly defrauded the fucking government of money that is supposed to be there for people who don't have a job or have been fired. That's what unemployment is for. It's for when you get fired. It's not because you didn't have a job. It's no, you got fired. You didn't get fired from your job yet. At this point now, you might be able to collect it, but probably not since you defrauded them for it.
Yeah, I think he kind of eliminated himself from that option at this point.
Well, don't worry, you're gonna get 3 hots and a cot, but they're not gonna be the way you want them.
Right? Yeah, no, he's still going to get fed and cared for. That's absolutely for sure. Just not where and how he thinks it should be. I'm sure.
Still not a fan of people getting fed and cared for when they fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to mention the Tito thing because it's so fucking stupid. Like, I get it if you want to pull a scam, you're in politics now, so I get it. But to be so dumb as to do something like that and do it publicly, you fucking idiot.
And how do you not think you're gonna get caught? They catch every motherfucker who embezzles, takes money from businesses. It happens. I mean, let's look at fucking what's the other biggest one here lately? Fucking what's his goddamn name? Was a Republican representative. I forget the fuck his name is. I'm drawing a fucking blank. I know who I'm thinking of, but can't think of his name. But no, you get caught doing dumb shit, you're gonna go to jail. You're going to get fired. You're gonna get fined. All that shit. To be honest, he has everything that they throw at him coming to him, and then some.
Yep, I agree.
Quite honest, I hope they make a example out of him, so that way people don't do that.
I really hope they throw the book at him specifically to teach other fucking idiots that might try to follow in his footsteps that this ain't fucking happens. Yeah. But moving along from that dipshit, that will bring us into this weekend's upcoming return of the UFC in what is UFC Fight Night. I believe it's 189. Also UFC Vegas 28 and UFC Fight Night Rozenstruik versus Sakai. This is one of those cards that we talk about a lot where the card almost every single month, right before the pay-per-view and right after the pay-per-view, are like the redheaded stepchildren of the UFC. They get neglected, abused, forgotten, taken from, given what they fucking will. This card is kind of a good example of that. Literally almost half the matches on this card have been either put together or remade within the last weekend change or so, including almost the entire front half of the prelims here. One thing I do want to say is I do think it's a bold strategy for the UFC to open their card with the guy who is now more famous for doing the splits and his dirty dancing lifts, plural, with his coach than he was for his actual fight. Um, I don't know that that is exactly how you want to start your career, but he actually defended that. So good on you, Jordan Levitt. I wish you the best of luck. I kind of want to see you get knocked the fuck out, but we'll see how Claudio Perez does on that. The Sean Woodson versus Yusuf Salah fight is another one of those that was supposed to happen and got rebooked, I think, twice at this point. Again, this isn't one of those household name guys that, you know, everybody's tuning in to watch, but this is another one of those featherweight up-and-comer matchups where two fairly new prospects to the UFC are really trying to fight and establish themselves as guys that are going to be a future problem in this division. And both of them have kind of a chip on their fucking shoulder. So I think it could be a pretty interesting fight as well. I do have to say, as disappointing as it is that our man Nate the Great did not get to make the full walk, I do still think that the Makwan Amir Khani against the no-name black and white dude that they've got thrown in there last minute to fight still has potential to be exciting because, as we've said before, Mr. Finland himself, the Frenchman Makwan Amir Markhani, is one of those gentlemen who is allergic to boring fights. He breaks out punches and kicks. So that, I think, still has potential to be pretty interesting. I think now, instead of it being really a great back and forth war with Nate Landwehr, now it gets to be more of a chance for Makwan to really kind of show out and show what he's capable of and why people need to pay attention to him, which he is fully capable of doing. So I don't think it's going to be as big of a fight as it would have been when he was locked up with our boy Nate the Great Landwehr, but I do still think there's some potential for that to be exciting, I'd say. Moving from there, Francisco Trinaldo versus Muslim Salikov might be one of the most slept on fights on this card, in my opinion. This is another pair of dudes who are not household names by any stretch of the imagination, but are both also very much allergic to that boring fight situation. This is going to be a situation where we got one of the Russian Dagestani-esque wrestlers with decent striking against a very strong Brazilian grappler with good striking. So this has the potential to be a stand-up or takedown match, and I think is kind of getting overlooked because these dudes are both kind of middle of the tier, but this is another one that I feel could be very exciting when it actually does play out for us as well.
Yeah, the one thing that I think that interests me the most is what Trinaldo is going to do with this, because being as he's getting look, I've been watching UFC for a long time, and he was on a long skid up until the end of 2019. He's now on a 3-fight win streak, but he's also 42 fucking years old. He doesn't have a lot of time left on his clock, to be quite honest, and it's nothing against him. He's had a long career. He's been around for a while. But you've got a young guy, fucking King Kung Fu in there. If you guys haven't watched him before, he does put on some fucking exciting fights, and he's going on a bit of a little tear himself here right lately. So definitely a good fight to keep your eye on. To be quite honest, I'm thinking, to be quite honest, I think we see the King Kung Fu take a W here, and possibly see Trinaldo on his way out the door of his career. Because, like I said, he's 42 years old, but I don't know. It's still going to be an interesting fight, one way or another. But yeah, it is what it is. Still not anything to write home about, at least not right now. We'll know on fucking Saturday, though, whether it is or not. And as he is taking his leave of absence. What's the next one on the card? I think the next one on the card is Tanner Bozier and Ayer Latifi. That fight, to be quite honest, I think that's a shitter get off the pot moment for both of these guys, because Latifi had a lot of fucking, in my opinion, he had a lot going for him when he first came in to the UFC. Then he tripped and fell over his own dick.
Oh, so hard too. Oh, so hard.
Yeah, just miserably fucking hard. And looking across fucking Bozer the same. He had a whole lot to give, but he can't seem to get the fucking engine started, which it doesn't make sense. He's been fucking hot, cold every time we've seen him. I mean, don't get me wrong. The people he's lost to are fucking up there. I mean, minus the Arlovsky fight. The Arlovsky fight, he shouldn't.
That's what I was gonna say. With the exception of that Arlovsky fight, because we were all screaming.
Well, let's take it this route. Cyril gone, and he went to decision with Cyril, which is fucking amazing. How he didn't get knocked out, I'll never fucking know.
Right, with what we've seen from Cyril gone, for sure.
Yeah, how he made a decision, I don't know. I think that might have been because that was one of Cyril's first fights in the UFC. But Bozier seemed to have never gotten his fucking wheels moving either. So, to be honest, I think for both of these guys, it's kind of a shitter get off the pot moment, or get walking papers, especially in my own opinion for Ayer Latifi. Because to be quite honest, he needs to show something. That little fucking ice cream cone shaped bastard needs to do something, or he's gonna get walking papers.
Yep, I completely agree. The only other thing I will say about this fight, ironically enough, with it being on the prelims, this is one of the only fights on this card that I don't agree with the placement of. This I feel it's. I'm not saying it's main event worthy by any stretch of the imagination. Slow that fucking horse right down. What I'm saying is it's better than the co-main event on the prelims. and there are some fights that we'll point out here in just a minute on the main card that it easily could have been swapped with and been in a much better position. But we'll get to that in just a minute. That will bring us, though, into our actual premier prelim, the main event of the prelims, as it were. This, in my opinion, maybe not the most exciting fight on the card, but definitely one of the most important fights on the card in terms of shitter get off the pot. Very, very reminiscent of the Tanner Bozier versus Ayer Latifi coming up right before it. Montana De La Rosa versus Ariane Lipski, I feel is absolutely very much the same vein. Both of these ladies came into the UFC with so much fucking steam behind them, and we have watched both of them just almost completely fizzle out at this point. And sadly, both of them have started to take that fucking Paige Van Zandt turning more towards Instagram pictures than spending time in the fucking training room mentality. And in my opinion, it very much shows. If you want to do that as your side hustle, do that as your side hustle. But it has to be just that, your fucking side hustle. If what pays your bills is MMA, then what you should be focusing on primarily is MMA. And neither one of those ladies have been able to do that. And it has shown in the fact that this is where they are. They are basically competing against themselves and against each other at this point to see who gets another chance to finally get their shit together and who's going to get sent to fucking Bellator or end up next to Pearl Gonzalez and BKFC next month. There is still the very, very, very real possibility that this does turn into an absolute fucking war. We have seen Ariane Lipski not afraid to just fucking let go and throw hands and get the fuck in there. On the other hand, Montana almost has no striking. That family doesn't understand how to fucking work boxing, and I don't get it. But she is a legitimate bad bitch when it gets to the fucking ground and she gets to use her jiu-jitsu. So there is still a possibility that because of how opposite their styles are, that this could lock up and be a very, very crazy fucking matchup. But I feel that it is very much the ladies' version of that Tanner Bozar, Iyer Latifi kind of shit or get off the pot. Like, you've had your chance and neither one of you impressed. So if you can't do it now, you're probably not going to get a fucking another.
I'm glad you talked about that because I didn't want to.
I have to, because I have, and I'm not afraid to own up. Like I said, sometimes you're happy about being right, sometimes you're not. I'm not afraid to admit that I was all aboard the fucking Montana De La Rosa fucking train when she first got signed. I watched a lot of her shit before she got to the UFC. She's one of those prospects that I had been talking about with some other fucking hardcore folks like myself for a good while now. And she had everything on paper to be the next fucking star in the lady side of the UFC, and has just essentially let her lack of boxing rule that possibility completely out at this point. And it's not like she hasn't had a chance to fix that. And Lipsky is almost on the exact opposite side of that. We've seen her come in and just fucking throw hands and look like a badass doing it. And then we've seen her get fucking tripped and thrown and taken down and ragdolled like she does not understand what grappling defense is. So there's a chance stylistically this could lock up and be fucking awesome, as much as there is a chance that this could just be the most boring 15 fucking minutes of the evening. But if the sparks fly in this one, it's going to be one of the potential best fights of the fucking night. I'm telling you right now.
I'm hoping you're right, to be quite honest, because I have a feeling
that's the
that's the time where you go get your popcorn, fucking.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's a big if. If the sparks fly, that one's going to be fucking crazy. If not, that's your intermission break to get up, go get your popcorn, refresh your drink, grab a wobble pop, make some fucking burritos, throw those Totinos in the oven, get everything ready to go, pack a fresh one, twist one up if you're going to sit for the long haul, prepare yourself.
Definitely prepare.
Because that is going to bring us into the main card of the evening. I will say this. There's not a lot of name draw on this main card, but there are still some very interesting matchups, not necessarily for namesake, but for placement in the division, for movement going forward in their career here. One of the first ones like that is the opening fight on the main card in Antonio Arroyo coming back in to try and get some steam going against the crazy Brit that is Tom Breeze. Both of these dudes have just as much potential to come out here and put on a 15 minute rather snooze fest as they do to give us a first round insane fucking knockout. It's almost kind of the theme of this card, in my opinion, and I guarantee it was not planned that way because of how much of this shit was thrown together in the last couple of days to week. But a lot of these fights very much have the possibility on paper or in MMA math, if you will, to either be spectacular fucking wars or 15-minute snooze fests where you're literally going to start fucking nodding off. The sad part is that the main card opens with one of those exact matches. So this is another one of those that if the sparks fly, get your fucking sunglasses because this match is about to be fucking fire. If not, this has the potential to be a 15-minute snuggle fest because these are both very grappling oriented gentlemen with striking. So could be fun, could be nap time. Very much similar in that vein in the follow-up fight in Dusko Todorovic, who now takes on another of the last-minute replacements that I kind of led up to talking about here in Gregory Rodriguez. Todorovic has looked pretty fucking good. This, for all intents and purposes, should be another one of those situations where Todorovic was ready to come in here and just be a badass, and now has a last-minute, fairly unknown guy to just style. This, in my opinion, is Todorovic's fight to lose. He can either put on a masterclass and show why he belongs in the UFC, or he can let a last-minute replacement come in and whoop his ass, and then no one's going to give a fuck about him because he's still too new for people to latch onto if you lose to the new guy. That, on the other hand, will bring us into the interesting matchup that we have here in the almost forgotten about by most fans, Santiago Ponzinibbio finally getting his fucking ass back into the octagon, taking on the neckbreaker that is Miguel Baez. Both of these dudes have not been nearly as active as they probably should have been recently, but both of these dudes very much have one-shot knockout power at welterweight. Granted, Ponzinibbio's got a little bit bigger of a hitbox to aim for than Baeza, but that fact aside, both of these dudes have decent wrestling pedigrees. Both of these dudes have great striking and one-shot power. So this is another one of those matchups that this could end up being a 15-minute grind fest, or this could give us a 45-second knockout. This either way has interesting to see how these styles play out against each other written all over it. Now, if you're looking for a dark horse fight of the night, the people's co-main event of the evening, in my opinion, is probably the biggest one we have on the card. There are a couple of matches here that I kind of alluded to that are being slept on. This one might be one of the biggest, though. Roman Dolidze taking on Laureano Staropoli. Again, another couple pair of dudes who don't quite have that household name factor just yet, but both of them have the absolute possibility of getting there. We have seen both of these gentlemen come out and just be absolute fucking monsters, and I think they are going to match up and meet in the middle and throw the fuck down. This one, I think, could be really, really fucking fun.
My question is this the one you were thinking that didn't need to be the people's co-main event? Because I'm kind of thinking it was.
Yes.
Because to be quite, look, Staropoli has had his ass whipped twice of the 3 fights that he's been in the UFC for. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. He got beat by fucking Master Kung Fu, who is also on the fucking card this week, as well as the Dirty Bird Tim Means whipped his ass. So Staropoli, not looking so hot. On the other side of that house, though, I will say Roman has had a better showing, albeit he did get his ass whipped here in his last fight out as well. He's 2-1, whereas Staropoli is 1-2 in the UFC. This is definitely a fight that belongs on the prelims. It does not belong as the people's co-main event because there's nothing people's about this. You're better off to bring you could have brought the Trinaldo fucking fight to this as the people's co-main event over this. And definitely Tanner Bojan or Latifi could have been over this. Fuck. I could even make a small case for fucking the Makwan Mercani fucking fight, even though he's fighting a replacement. But this definitely doesn't belong here. And I still don't understand why they are running the cards the way they are. Like, you look at some of these fights, and they would way more sense in a completely different order. But, look, it is what it is. Give those guys their 30 seconds to shine on this ESPN Plus card that not everybody's going to watch because it's on ESPN Plus. And to be quite honest, if you get your 5 minutes of fame on ESPN Plus, good for you, because it's not as many eyes as you could have on you if this was like a card on fucking Fox or CBS or whoever it is their new affiliate's going to be next time, you know? But hey, good on them. Best of luck to both of you guys. To be quite honest, I don't see anything special about either one of them, so I don't ever foresee them making it to the upper echelons in the middleweight division.
No, this is exactly the fight that I was talking about. I think that this fight and the Tanner Roser versus Zaire Latifi fight should have been switched. If they're closing out the card with big men, why wouldn't you put the big men here? You know what I mean? Heavyweight fights for the and the main event. Why wouldn't you put the other heavyweight fight right here and just let the big men run the fucking show out? But, you know, that would be logical. So I get why the UFC wouldn't do it. But that will bring us into our co-main event of the evening. One, Walt Big Ticket Harris taking on Marcin Tybura. One of you gentlemen would like to take this one.
I'll run with this motherfucker. Look, I'm going to start here. I have a soft spot for Walt Harris. I liked Walt Harris a good amount, but now I have a fucking soft spot for him after losing his daughter. Look, that's just the human portion in me. However, soft spot aside, Walt Harris needs to make up his mind if he wants to fight or retire. And I say that in the nicest way possible because I respect him. He was on an absolute fucking tear up until the point where his daughter went missing. Once she went missing and he had to cancel a bout after she passed, then comes back. They don't feed him anything nice as a, hey, welcome back. Let's try to get you back into the swing of things. No. Who did they put him up against? Fucking legendary goddamn fighter. Possibly some of you might know his name as Alistair Overeem. You may not know who he is, but if you don't, it's probably because you're casual. And that's okay. But Overeem, absolute legend of this fight game, completely dismantled Harris. Stopped him. And Harris, since you're down there, let's kick you while you're fucking down and throw you to fucking Alexander Volkov. Because, you know, one killer in a row is not enough. We need to feed you to a second killer. Like, they're literally telling him, fuck your face, man. That's really literally what they did to him. However, on the other side of this, I think Walt Harris could have beaten both of them had he had his head in the game. But his head hasn't been right since his daughter was fucking murdered. And for that, I feel for him. I have a soft spot. But he needs to figure out his turnaround because at this point, either you are completely out or you're completely in. You have to make up your mind. I get it. You had fights on your contract. You're probably just fulfilling those at this point. But I would really like to see the fire come back. Win one for your fucking daughter, man. Win one for the daughter. And Marcin Tybura is not the person that's going to be an easy fight right now because he's on an absolute fucking tear, and he's not being nice about it. He's fucking kicking people's face in too. So Walt Harris is not being dealt an easy hand since this has happened to him. And to be quite honest, I want to pull for Walt Harris here, but if you look at what Tybura has done recently, he's had a couple stumbles in there, but he's also had a quite fucking hellacious run. I mean, let's see. He had four fights in 2020. All of them W's. He took out his last loss was actually to the main eventer on here, Sakai, and that was in 2019. But in the meantime, we've taken out the Polar Bear. He's taken out Grinshin. He took out fucking Rothwell via decision. And then, well, we're not going to talk about the one who won't be named, but that motherfucker, he knocked out to great appeasement of me because fuck that guy. So, I mean, he's on an absolute 4-fight fucking tear. When his last fight was in 2019 against Sakai, and he's had 4 fights since then, Tybura is nothing to be fucked with right now. And he's fought some good fighters in there. So Walt Harris has got a tall order ahead of him. To be quite honest, I like Walt Harris. I have a soft spot for him, but I don't see him winning this fight. I don't think his head's back in the game yet fully. And I really wish it was, but it just didn't seem like it. After those last 2 fights, he didn't seem like the old Walt Harris. It seemed like that piece of him that died that day has stayed gone, and he hasn't figured out how to mend that hole. I'm hoping he's figured out a way to fill that hole with something, maybe a little dark spot in the heart to say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to do what to the people I'm fighting, what they did to my daughter. I'm just going to murder them in the cage. But that hasn't come out yet. And Walt Harris is generally a likable, nice person, but generally a nice guy. But he's got to find something to turn the switch. So until I see otherwise, I'm going to have to pick against him. I think Marcin Tybura gets it done. However, Tybura is more of a decision machine. Don't get me wrong. He does have the fucking knockout capability, which we've seen, but he's more of a decision machine. So I think this one's going to decision, and I think Tybura gets it in the end. And I think it might be close because I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here. I think we're going to see a 29-28 across the board.
Yeah, I can pretty much agree with that across the fucking board. Just based off of since Harris has come back and what Tybura has done over the last year. I don't think Walt Harris will ever be himself after this. I think after this, his contract has run its course, and he does what he has to do to fulfill the contract. I'm one of the people that are saying that Walt Harris is probably going to walk away from the sport and at least fighting in the sport, because that's some shit that's hard to fucking live with and deal with and cope mentally, along with the mental abuse of being punched in the face for your job. That takes a lot of mental strain and physical strain, and I don't think that doing that is going to be good or healthy or in any way, shape, or form beneficial, even if he wins every single fight. If he figures out something to get the fire back in him, that's going to be great for his confidence, for his mental health. That's going to be fucking great for him. But I don't see that being as something that happens. And I mean, the way that he got brought back, as TJ said, was pretty fucked. That was just not a good, hey, welcome back to the UFC. We're sorry about your daughter. Go get murdered for fucking 2 fights, 3 fights. But I with Walt Harris, even with the way that he performed in both of those last 2 fights, I'm 100%. I'm 100% with it coming down to a decision, because he still fought intelligently. He was still intelligently defending himself up until he gets just rocked. And he's still pretty fucking quick and has some good footwork. So I don't see Tybura putting him out very, very easily. I would agree with a decision if it was not a 3-round fight. If it was a main event 5-rounder, I could see him being knocked the fuck out at the end of that. But being a 3-round, I think he could weather the storm that Tybura would throw at him. And in the end, I hope he can figure something out to get him back on track, because he's a fucking great fighter, and that man's was a fucking legend of the sport at one time before everything happened. Man was a fucking legend.
So first and foremost, you both suck.
Enjoy that backside.
Unlike some people on the panel this evening, I don't kick a man when he's down. One thing I do think that TJ missed in his assessment here is, if you look back at Marcin Tybura's last 2 years, he got knocked out by the main event headliner in less than a minute, and then decisioned his way through 2020 against 3 very tough guys until he knocked out a nameless soup can in his last bout out. Walt Harris, on the other hand, has absolutely had 2 very, very tough fights in a row, but 2 tough fights against literally 2 of the top 5 in the division, 2 of the toughest of the tough in that division. If you keep looking back a little further at Marcin Tybura's record, you will notice that when he goes up against a dude who is not just going to take that one shot to the chin and crumple over, he has a real hard night. There are a few points on his record, like the last piece of shit that he clipped and fucking got the job done on. Absolutely. But there are also equally as many times where he went up against a dude who was a legit bad motherfucker and got put on his ass because of it. I don't think, I do agree with RJ on this as well. I don't think that Walt Harris is going to be around here in terms of fighting in the world of MMA for very much longer. I do agree. I think that he's basically just fighting out his contract at this point to get the rest of his paydays and then, turn his back and walk into the sunset, which he abso-fucking-lutely earned, if anyone ever fucking has. But I feel like at this point, he is still more than tough enough and more than well-rounded enough to be able to shut Marcin Tybura the fuck down. He has got more than enough of a chin, which he proved in that Overeem fight, to be able to take anything, in my opinion, that Marcin Tybura will be able to sling at him. And as well, has more than enough fight IQ and experience to be able to keep himself out of the positions that Tybura would be able to take advantage of to make that fight go his way. I do agree. I do think it does go to a decision, just because I don't know that Walt Harris really has the power to be able to put Tybura away, because being a soup can, he still does have a decent chin on him. But I feel like he also has enough, Walt Harris also has enough of a gas tank and a fight IQ to be able to keep any real momentum that Tybura would be able to put down against him in check. And I think Walt Harris is going to be able to weather the storm here and come out smiling on the other end with a W.
I just want to make this very clear. I was not kicking the man while he's down. Don't you put words in my fucking mouth. Like I said, I have a soft spot for that man, but still don't think he gets it done. But not kicking him while he's down.
No, I absolutely fucking feel for Walt Harris, and I agree. I don't think he has a whole lot left in him. I think he's going to finish his contract out, and he's going to go, and he absolutely deserves to. But we'll see how Saturday plays out in terms for him, though. But that, however, will bring us to our main event of the evening, the marquee namesake battle on the card. One Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai. Gentlemen.
Whose loss do I talk about first? Whose most recent loss do I talk about first? Do I talk about Rozenstruik's or Sakai's? Because Look, to be honest, I think they have this fucked up. I think the co-main event should have been the main event here. Thing is, at least one of those guys has a fucking win in their last fight out. These two bastards, Rozenstruik and Sakai, both coming off of losses. And Rozenstruik's actually coming off of a couple of losses. Well, I can't say a couple of losses. He did have one win in there, which was against Dos Santos. But Dos Santos, old motherfucker, they basically fed Rozenstruik somebody to, hey, you can still win a fight and knock somebody out. And then they gave him Cyril Gahn. Cyril Gahn is on a whole different fucking level, which I have a feeling pretty soon we're going to be seeing Cyril Gahn and fucking Francis fight. However, that's not what we're here to talk about. Rozenstruik did not get finished by Cyril Gahn, which is impressive because a lot of the other people that have ran up against Cyril have gotten finished. Now, Sakai on the other side of the house, if we're going to talk losses here, his fucking last loss was to Alistair Overeem, who, we're going to throw a little MMA math here because, you know, MMA math works great sometimes, and sometimes it just doesn't fucking work at all, was knocked out by Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So, if we MMA math this, Jair Rozenstruik fucking wins. Purely on the MMA math side of the house. However, MMA math doesn't fucking work here. The one thing I will say, Rozenstruik is dangerous the entirety of the fight because he does have one-punch knockout power. He does have the capability to end the fight, as shown when he did fight Overeem. Overeem was fucking doing great, managing the entire fight, and he didn't look like he was going to get finished or anything like that. And here comes Rozenstruik with this gigantic fucking right and blows up his fucking mouth like he was chewing on a firecracker. For those of you who forgot that's what caused that big old fucking scar. Well, I can't say a big scar because, well, you know, he had a great plastic surgeon. But anyhow, yeah. This is Kai. Has on the other side of this here, he does not, there's nothing about Sakai to me that screams top 10. Why he's in the top 10, I think he's just fumbled himself into dumb luck. Because to be quite honest, I have not seen anything out of him that makes him go, oh, he really stands out. I mean, yeah, you beat Ivanov, you beaten Tybura, which I guess that makes sense why they have you on the main there, and you beat a Sherman back in 2018, and that, I think, was around the same time that Sherman ended up going out for a while before he made his comeback. Now, Rozenstruik, because he's still fairly new to the UFC, and I say fairly relatively, but he's only been around a couple years, but he's put a goddamn explanation point on everything he's done. If you go back and look at his record from February of 2019 all the way up until he fought Francis Ngannou, he was putting people into fucking orbit. A round 2 knockout, a round 1 knockout, a round 1 knockout, a round 5 knockout. So, look, he KO'd Albini. That was his first fight in the UFC. Second fight, James Crowder got fucking demolished in the first round in 9 seconds. Arlovsky, 29 seconds. Overeem, 5th round, knocked the fuck out. Loses to Ngannou, decimates Dos Santos in the 2nd round. Then he goes the distance with a very dangerous Cyril Gahn. Look, I just looking at the resume that he's built in the 2 years that he's been in the promotion, the dude is fucking dangerous. Stupidly dangerous. Now, if you go back and you look at Sakai's record, yeah, he's got a couple knockouts, but he's got more decisions than fucking knockouts. I mean, and it's nothing impressive. Like the people that he's beaten, I don't see as being all that impressive. I mean, got Sherman, Arlovsky, but Arlovsky's aged and old, so that's just a fucking weird thing. Yes, he did beat Tybura, which we had talked about previously on the other fight back in 2019. Then he beats Ivanov, a man who's been stabbed in the chest, and then lost to fucking Alistair Overeem. Like, his resume alone tells me that he's gotten the easy push to the top. And by to the top, I mean to the top 10. He's gotten the easy push to the top 10. Rozenstruik fucking worked for his. He fought some legitimate bad motherfuckers. Sakai's kind of got like I'll say the low-end gatekeepers is what I'll call them. How that got him into the top 10, that just tells me that the fucking heavyweight division as a whole is getting a little stagnant, unfortunately. When you can get somebody like Augusto Sakai, who doesn't really belong in the top 10, in the top 10. So, if I'm going to go out on this one here, I think Rozenstruik gets it done inside of 2 rounds. I think we're going to see Sakai taking a heavy fucking loss, and he's going to be getting a nice fucking canvas snap. Now, do I think we're going to see the kind of damage like was done to fucking explode a lip? No, because that was just a freak fucking shot. But you're definitely getting some goddamn extra sleep. Don't get me wrong, you're going to get paid to sleep on the job, just not the way you want to. So, I think Rozenstruik gets it done inside of 2 rounds.
So the only person I'm pretty much actually going to talk about, because I don't need to cover Rozenstruik because TJ just did that beautifully, is Sakai. The biggest win that he has on his entire record of a relevant fighter is over Tybura. Everything after that is pretty much soup cans. Soup can after soup can after soup can. His fight that got him his contract from the Contender Series was nothing spectacular. They're just trying to push another Contender Series fighter up into the top 10, and hey, let's give you the bottom end of the top 15 fighters because we need a Contender Series person up in heavyweight like we have in every other division. He doesn't deserve to be in the top 15, let alone the top 10. He has some very, very good skills. He's very knowledgeable at fighting, but he got, as TJ said, he got an easy push. He got a very easy push, and whenever he got put against a powerhouse like Alistair Overeem, which is very similar to Rozenstruik, powerhouse, can take fucking punches, can take whatever sort of damage you can possibly do to him and not be fucking phased. It's pretty much the same exact fight against Overeem. You're going to come down to the same exact decision because those are 2 very similar fighters. The only difference is Rozenstruik won't take you to the ground and Alistair Overeem can. It's pretty much just a run back of Sakai Overeem. You're looking at a powerhouse that has a granite chin, has hands of fucking bricks, and you're not going to be able to do anything. I'm not saying that Sakai is a bad fighter because he's not. He has a very impressive record and his amateur fights and whenever he was in Bellator. He has a very impressive record and did some great fucking work over in Bellator where he should have stayed and made more fucking money. But coming over here, the heavyweight fucking class, once you get 10 and up, they're all fucking powerhouse. They're all headhunters. they're all one punch knockout. And we're gonna see a recap of that Alistair Overeem fight, but it's gonna be within like that halfway mark of 2 minutes. I'm giving it that halfway mark, like that halfway mark to round 2, that 1 to 2 minute, and then it's over. It's done. That's a W on Rozenstruik to push him back up after he got his decision loss over Cyril Gann.
I think it's your turn to go like this again.
So, once again, you both suck very much. That being said, I'm about to Sylvester Stallone the fuck out of this here, because I believe that my co-hosts here might not have been looking at the correct set of stat sheets for these particular gentlemen. So if we take a quick walk down memory lane here, we'll notice that Augusto Sakai made his debut in the UFC on short notice, might I remind you, against one Chase Sherman, who he knocked the fuck out for his introduction into the UFC. Immediately following that, in April of 2019, he beat the dog shit for 15 minutes out of one Andrei Arlovsky. The next time we see Andrei Arlovsky, shortly after April of 2019, would be in November of 2019, when one Jairzinho Rozenstruik knocked him the fuck out because he was still wobbly from the beating that Augusto Sakai had just put on him 4 months earlier. So then we look back over and we see September of 2019 when Augusto Sakai knocked Marcin Tybura the fuck out in under a minute. And we look over about that same time and we see in December here, Jairzinho Rozenstruik exploded Alistair Overeem's lip in December of 2019. Good fight. But then you look back over here, Overeem doesn't come back until we see him against Sakai last September. Whereas from there, we proceed to watch Jairzinho Rozenstruik get leveled by Francis Ngannou, and then get leveled by Junior Dos Santos, and then get worked for 25 fucking minutes by Cyril Gann. It's been, 8 months now since we've seen Sakai come back from that knockout, but he's just coming back off of one knockout from Overeem. Whereas we're looking at Rozenstruik here, who is coming off of not only getting fucking leveled by Francis Ngannou, but then getting knocked the fuck out by Junior Dos Santos, and then getting ragdolled by Francis Ngannou's old fucking training partner here. I'm not afraid to admit I was one of the most fucking vocal Biggie Boy train conductors to fucking chew, because a heavyweight K1 Grand Prix kickboxing world champion is a rare thing these days. And I was one of the first ones to tell you better keep your fucking eye on this guy. And then we saw him start getting matched up against some of the top world-class talent. And then you start to realize that he is almost 40 years old as well, and spent the majority of his year as a kickboxer. I'm not saying Rozenstruik doesn't have what it takes. I'm saying that he inadvertently gave his best years in the K1 arena, it seems. And while we've still got a very competent Jairzinho in front of us here, Augusto Sakai just turned 28. He is quite literally in the prime of his physical peak career stat. This is the point when younger fighters develop into the fighters they are going to be, stepping in against a guy who has spent the better part of his fighter he is going to be years already competing before he got to the UFC. I very much like Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and he is very much an accomplished motherfucker, but I think he has got too many road miles at this point. I think he has just given too much of the best of his time to other organizations, and we started to see that when we started to stack him up against the top of the division here in the UFC. Augusto Sakai, on the other hand, is just getting into his stride. Yeah, he's had some bumps along the road, but they are much fewer and much further between than Rozenstruik's here, and his peaks as opposed to those valleys, in my opinion, are much higher than Rozenstruik's have been in the UFC. And I think he just has youth on his side. And in a situation like this, where you're talking about a guy who spent years kickboxing at heavyweight, that takes a toll on your body. And then you look at a young guy who is a Brazilian black belt, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, who has spent his early years being the flexible, well-rounded fighter that he is. I like Jairzinho. I just don't think he has what it takes to get around Sakai. I, unlike my co-host here, do not think this fight ends in a knockout. I think this fight is going to end via submission on the ground from Augusto Sakai in round 3. I think Rozenstruik is going to come out a little too confident in his stand-up game and forget that Augusto Sakai not only also has a stand-up game, but has a world-class black belt ground game that most people completely forget about because he's also a heavyweight. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting fight to watch play out, but I think Augusto Sakai is going to show that youth and more well-roundedness in this particular situation is going to be the key to victory, in my opinion.
Did that hurt? Did that hurt to say all of that? Because it sounded like it. Like, it honestly sounded like you were dying there for a moment.
Sometimes you got to pull shit out of your ass because your co-host won't, and that's what a good host does.
Look, I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat anything. I'm calling it how I fucking see it.
To be fair, there is every possibility in the world that Rozenstruik just completely shits the bed here. It's a slimmer possibility. It's a slimmer possibility, but there is every possibility. And I like to make a point to make sure that every outcome, every possibility in a strange matchup situation like this is covered, even if my co-hosts won't.
I like that. At least you were. At least you went for it. Give it to him.
I gotta make sure. But that's gonna be all we've got for this particular episode here. So the only way to find out if we are correct in our assumptions or if we are completely throwing it out to left field is to tune in this weekend and find out for yourselves. But before we get on out of here, I do want to take just a moment and thank these fine gentlemen for spending their evening talking shit and breaking down this craziness with me. So first and foremost, if at this point folks have not figured out what that get into purple strap shape routine is just yet, and they need a couple of physical advices, how do they reach you after the show, Mr. RJ?
You can always hit me up over Instagram at RJMMA Official. You can hit me up over there. Come tell me that I'm not even a contender for the purple strap. We can talk about that. But thank you for having me on, like always, man. I wish I knew y'all did a show last week. I didn't know we were doing a show last week until I was already in the middle of playing games. And I looked at my phone at 11:45 and I was like, shit, they went live at 11:30 or 10:32. But always good to be on here, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, sir. Always appreciate your time. And I don't know how they could, but at this point, if somebody doesn't understand where to go to get themselves direction for the best fried cheese curds in Wisconsin, or maybe some maps to get them up towards Kenosha to find themselves a killer to get themselves an autograph, how can they reach you after the show, Mr. Golf T?
Wednesday nights, right here on the YouTube, 9:30 Central Time. Of course, here every Thursday, every Thursday that I can be. Then, of course, you can always hit me up on the Instagrams. I'll gladly shoot you directions or send you pictures of last known sightings and things like that. And give you a coupon for a nice place to get us some fucking cheese curds on your way down there for a snack. You'll be all right.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciate it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, is going to bring us to the end of the show for this evening. Excuse me. Now I got to think of something. Thank you very much for tuning in. Whether you are here live with us, I see you guys in the chat, or whether you're catching this on a replay, we appreciate you guys just the same. So if you appreciate what we do around here, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that little bell down there so you don't miss a single episode of the show. If you really love what we do around here, share an episode of the show with your friends. We're trying to grow this goddamn thing. On the other side of that coin, we're just a couple of dipshits and a 13-year-old trying to glue facial hair on, talking out our asses, not knowing what we're really saying. Give us a thumbs down. We earned it, and we won't dispute it. That being said, we're going to get the fuck out of here for this evening. So remember, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless you really thought the UFC was going to give you a good card right before a pay-per-view just because they took a week off.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh. I'll wave the band.